That's a big fish. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to tie this stripped quill mayfly. This is a commonly used mayfly variant in Victorian waters and a must-have in your fly box. I would usually tie this on if I could visibly see these type of mayfly flying around in the air. So please join me as we get tying. Our first step, as per usual with most flies, is to lay down a thread base. In this situation I'm using some brown waxed Semper thread in 8/0. Once that thread base is laid down, snip away your excess thread. For the tail of the fly we're going to use some Grizzled cock hackle fibres. I usually pick off about 4 to 5 and I measure them out to be about the length of the shank of the hook. I then tie them in at the rear of the hook, about in line with the barb. I'll then advance my thread forward and I'll stop about 4 millimeters shy of the eye of the hook. I then like to snip away those excess fibres just to make it a bit neater. I then stack 3 to 4 CDC feathers, line up the tips and tie them in with a few nice tight thread wraps. Once they're fairly secure, I like to trim away the excess CDC. When you trim away the CDC feathers, trim away 2 at one length and 2 a little bit longer. This will create a taper when you wrap your stripped quill. I could already tell that my CDC was a little bit too thick and would cause problems with my stripped quill. So I secured down my CDC just a little bit tighter and proceeded to take a little bit of it away. You'll get used to testing and adjusting like this the more you tie. When you decide you're happy with that, continue with some more thread wraps, securing down the rest of that CDC, and just build up a bit of a taper as that transition happens between the CDC and the hook shank. Next, you want to add in your stripped quill. If you're unfamiliar with how to prepare a stripped quill, well, I'll tell you now. Get an eraser and a Peacock quill. Lay the Peacock quill on your bench and rub along it with the eraser until all the fibres are gone. Alternatively, you can purchase stripped quills. I'll leave a link in the description for places I buy my fly tying materials. Now it's time to add in the stripped quill. I tie it in about in line with the point of the hook and I wrap down towards the tail, stopping in line with the barb of the hook. I then continue my thread back up towards the eye of the hook, stopping my thread just behind the clump of CDC. From here, you'll want to wrap your stripped quill up the hook in touching turns, stopping in line with your thread. Secure the stripped quill with your thread. 3 to 4 wraps will secure this. Don't worry, it'll get more when we add in our dubbing. Don't forget to snip away the excess stripped quill. And for extra durability, I like to add some UV resin. Just a light coating, not too much. We don't want to overweight this fly. CDC doesn't have a tendency to suspend a great deal of weight. Give that UV resin a hit with your UV torch. Next thing we need to do is create a dubbing noodle with some CDC fibres. You don't need a great deal for this, and if you need to add more later, then it's easier to add more than to take them away. Build up a thorax with that dubbing noodle, starting behind the clump of CDC and then drawing back the CDC and going in front of it. This will stand the wing up and create some bulk in your head. I had to make another dubbing noodle just to fill in that head just a tiny bit more. I wasn't totally happy with it. So if you need to do that, that's fine. Just build it up to where you think it looks right. Once you're happy with how it looks, it's time to put in your whip finish. I use about a 4 to 5 turn whip finish most times. Snip away your excess thread while holding everything tight. At this stage, I like to give it a little bit of a haircut, trim any extra long fibres off and just make it look a bit neater, but The reality is this would catch fish as is. It's just something I've started doing. And there you have it, a stripped Quill Mayfly. Super effective in Victorian rivers. A really great fly if you just want to fish a single dry fly. And fairly inexpensive and easy to tie. Well, that's it from me. I appreciate you watching. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, all that good stuff. Happy fishing. See you on the next one. Catch you later. That's a big fish.